Welcome back to another peaceful evening recap. Tonight, we're exploring the contemplative world of Castaway from the year 2000, a gentle story about one man's journey of survival, solitude, and self-discovery on a remote island. Let's settle in together and follow this quiet tale of resilience, companionship, and the profound changes that come when life strips everything away, except what truly matters. Take a deep breath and let yourself sink into this meditative story of transformation and the unexpected gifts that solitude can bring. Our story begins in the bustling world of modern life, where we meet a man whose days are filled with the comfortable rhythm of routine and purpose. He works for a delivery company, traveling the world to solve problems and ensure that packages reach their destinations on time. His life moves at the steady pace of deadlines and schedules, surrounded by the familiar sounds of ringing phones, humming computers, and the gentle rustle of papers being sorted and organized with methodical care. The soft glow of office lights creates a warm atmosphere as he moves through his daily responsibilities with practiced ease. There's something deeply comforting about watching someone who knows their work well, moving through familiar motions with quiet confidence. His desk is organized just so, with photographs that catch the light throughout the day, reminding him of the life waiting for him at home. The gentle hum of air conditioning provides a constant backdrop, while the distant sounds of city traffic flow like a river far below the office windows. In these opening moments, we witness the intricate choreography of modern professional life. Meetings unfold in conference rooms, where the afternoon light filters through Venetian blinds, creating patterns that shift slowly across polished tables. His voice carries the calm authority of someone who understands systems and logistics, who can look at complex problems and find pathways to simple solutions. There's a particular satisfaction in watching him work through challenges, sketching diagrams on whiteboards with steady hands, and speaking in measured tones that put colleagues at ease. The camera follows him through airport terminals, where the gentle murmur of travelers creates a soothing backdrop. Families reuniting with soft laughter, business travelers moving with purposeful calm, and the rhythmic announcements that mark the steady flow of departures and arrivals. The airport becomes a world unto itself, filled with the quiet drama of people beginning journeys or returning home. The fluorescent lights cast everything in a gentle glow, while the distant sound of jet engines provides a steady drone that speaks of distant places and new possibilities. On airplanes, he settles into his seat with the practiced ease of someone who has made this journey countless times before. The steady hum of engines provides a rhythmic lullaby, while fellow passengers arrange themselves for the long hours ahead. Flight attendants move through the aisles with quiet professionalism, their voices gentle and reassuring as they go through familiar safety routines. The airplane itself becomes a small world suspended between destinations, filled with the soft sounds of people settling in for a journey across vast distances. In these opening passages, we see glimpses of his personal life painted in gentle watercolors of domestic happiness. Quiet dinners unfold in warm kitchens, where the evening light filters through windows, illuminating conversations that flow like comfortable streams between two people who know each other deeply. The soft clink of silverware against plates provides a gentle percussion while the aroma of home-cooked meals fills spaces made sacred by shared presence and genuine affection. There are tender moments that make up a life built on connection and shared dreams. Morning coffee shared in comfortable silence, while dawn light gradually fills familiar rooms. Weekend afternoons spent in easy companionship, where conversation flows naturally between comfortable silences, and evening walks through neighborhoods where streetlights begin to twinkle like earthbound stars. There's a wedding ring that catches the light throughout these scenes, symbolizing the bonds that tether him to home and happiness with golden threads of commitment and love. The warmth in these scenes feels like being wrapped in a familiar blanket, safe and surrounded by love that has been tested by time and proven reliable through seasons of joy and challenge alike. We see them making plans for the future, quiet conversations about dreams and possibilities, hands intertwined across dinner tables, and the easy laughter that comes when two people understand each other's humor and heart. These moments create a foundation of contentment that makes his upcoming journey feel both necessary and bittersweet. As fate would have it, his work requires another journey across the vast Pacific Ocean, that enormous blue expanse that connects distant continents with liquid highways older than human memory. The preparation for this trip unfolds with the same methodical care he brings to all aspects of his professional life, checking weather patterns, confirming delivery schedules, and ensuring that every detail has been considered and planned for with precision. The airplane that will carry him across these vast distances represents the pinnacle of human engineering and cooperation. As he boards, there's something almost ceremonial about the process. Tickets checked with careful attention, baggage stowed in overhead compartments with practiced efficiency, and safety demonstrations performed by crew members whose voices carry the calm authority of those who have made this journey countless times before. The aircraft carries him through the peaceful darkness of night, high above the gentle waves that stretch endlessly below like a living carpet of liquid starlight. The cabin lights are dimmed to encourage rest, creating an atmosphere of quiet intimacy among the passengers who have entrusted themselves to this marvel of technology and human skill. Fellow travelers settle into their seats, some reading under small pools of directed light, others closing their eyes to rest, and a few gazing out windows at the star-filled darkness that surrounds their small world of pressurized comfort. For hours, all is well in this flying sanctuary. The steady drone of the engines becomes a lullaby that speaks of power held in perfect control, of complex systems working in harmony to carry their precious cargo of human lives across distances that would have taken our ancestors months or years to traverse. The flight attendants move through the aisles with practiced grace, offering refreshments and comfort to passengers who have placed their trust in this elaborate dance of technology and human expertise. The captain's voice occasionally comes over the intercom system, providing updates about their progress across the Pacific in tones that convey competence and calm reassurance. Weather reports are shared like gentle updates from a trusted friend, while altitude adjustments are made with such smoothness that passengers barely notice the subtle changes in their aerial journey. Outside the small windows, the night continues its ancient progression, with stars wheeling slowly overhead and the moon casting silver paths across the ocean's endless surface. Then, gradually and without drama, circumstances begin to change in ways that challenge even the most sophisticated systems and experienced crews. The weather, which had seemed cooperative just hours before, begins to shift and intensify with the unpredictable power that marks the Pacific's most challenging moods. Rather than dwelling on the intensity of these moments, we simply observe that sometimes life presents us with situations that exceed our preparation and planning, requiring us to trust in the expertise of those around us and the resilience of the human spirit. The crew responds to these changing conditions with the calm professionalism that comes from years of training and experience. Their voices remain steady over the intercom system, providing passengers with information and reassurance while they work through procedures designed to handle even the most challenging circumstances. There's something deeply moving about watching people perform their duties with grace under pressure, maintaining their dedication to the safety and comfort of those in their care, even as conditions become increasingly difficult. When the aircraft eventually makes contact with the ocean's surface, it's with the same matter-of-fact acceptance that we might describe any other significant change in life's journey. The vast Pacific Ocean, that ancient body of water that has witnessed countless stories of human courage and adaptability, welcomes both aircraft and passengers with its patient, eternal embrace. The water here is not cold or threatening, but simply immense, a liquid world where different rules apply and new possibilities emerge from circumstances that might have seemed impossible just moments before. Our main character finds himself alone in this endless blue expanse, floating peacefully under the wide dome of sky where day and night meet in a tapestry of clouds and distant stars. The ocean here becomes not an adversary, but simply another environment, as natural and accepting as the air he had been breathing in the aircraft just minutes before. The gentle rhythm of waves provides a constant, soothing soundtrack that speaks of tides and currents, of storms that pass and calms that endure, of an ancient patience that has been perfected over millions of years. As he drifts in this liquid world, there's something almost meditative about the experience, like floating in the ultimate expression of solitude and surrender to forces far greater than individual will or planning. The water supports him with surprising gentleness, while the sky above provides a canvas of ever-changing beauty that shifts from the deep blues of night to the softer pastels of approaching dawn. Time seems to move differently here, measured not by clocks or schedules, but by the gradual shift of light across an endless horizon. The sun, that faithful companion that has warmed countless survivors throughout human history, begins its slow ascent from the ocean's edge, painting the water's surface in soft shades of gold and amber that dance and shimmer with each gentle wave. In this peaceful drifting, where the boundary between sea and sky seems to dissolve into one continuous blue embrace, he spots something in the distance that captures his attention and fills him with quiet hope. A small island rises from the water, like a gift carefully placed by the ocean itself, its green slopes catching the morning light in ways that speak of fresh water, shelter, and the possibility of life sustained far from the complexities of modern civilization. Palm trees sway along its shoreline with the easy rhythm of trade winds that have been blowing across these waters since long before human history began to count years and seasons. The island seems to float on the water surface like a dream made manifest, offering the promise of solid ground and natural abundance to one who has learned to appreciate the most basic gifts of survival. The approach to this haven unfolds with gentle inevitability, as ocean currents that have been flowing in their appointed channels for centuries guide him toward the island's welcoming shore. The water grows shallower and clearer as he draws near, revealing sandy bottoms where small fish dart in silver schools and seaweed waves in the gentle current like underwater meadows, moved by invisible breezes. The island's beaches stretch before him like arms opened in welcome. White sand that has been washed and polished by countless tides into a texture as fine and soft as powdered silk. The island welcomes him with its gentle shoreline, where waves lap softly against sand that feels warm and welcoming beneath tired limbs that have spent hours supported only by the ocean's liquid embrace. The sensation of solid ground beneath his feet comes as a profound relief and gratitude, like being embraced by an old friend who asks no questions, but simply offers the gift of presence and support. The sand holds the warmth of tropical sunshine, while the sound of waves continues its eternal conversation with the shore, a rhythm so constant and reassuring that it becomes like breathing made audible. Palm trees sway overhead with the easy rhythm of trade winds, their fronds creating a natural canopy that filters the tropical sunlight into dancing patterns of light and shadow that shift and play across the beach throughout the day. The air here carries the sweet, complex scent of salt and growing things, mixed with the earthy comfort of sun-warmed sand and the green fragrance of vegetation that has found ways to thrive in this isolated paradise. Each breath feels cleaner and simpler than the processed air of modern life, filled with humidity that speaks of abundant rain and growing things. The beach stretches in both directions, like a natural highway, marked by the daily signatures of high and low tides that leave behind treasures from the ocean's vast collection, shells worn smooth by countless journeys through surf and sand, pieces of driftwood carved into artistic shapes by years of patient tumbling in salt water, and occasionally more practical gifts that speak of human presence somewhere beyond the horizon's endless curve. As the gentle hours pass and the sun climbs higher into a sky painted in every possible shade of blue, our traveler begins to explore this new world that will become his home for longer than he could possibly imagine. The island reveals itself slowly, like a friend sharing secrets one at a time, fresh water trickling from rock formations that have been shaped by centuries of rain and wind, coconuts hanging heavy and ready on palms that have been perfecting their generous harvest for generations, and caves that offer shelter from the occasional tropical shower with their cool, echoing chambers carved by time and weather. The interior of the island beckons with paths worn by time and the passage of small creatures, winding through groves of trees where the air is cooler and filled with the earthy scent of growing things that have never known the touch of human cultivation. Here, ancient trees stretch toward the sky with branches that create natural cathedrals, their leaves rustling with the voices of trade winds that have been whispering the same ancient songs for longer than human memory can reach. There's something deeply satisfying about watching him discover each resource, each small blessing that the island offers with the generous spirit of a host who has been preparing for his arrival without his knowledge. Freshwater pools collect in hollows carved from rock by patient rain, clear and cold, and tasting of minerals drawn from deep earth. Fruit trees offer their bounty with the casual abundance of nature, unrestrained by human planning or cultivation. Their branches heavy with offerings that ripen according to seasons older than written history. The days begin to establish their own peaceful rhythm, as natural and inevitable as the sunrise that greets each morning with renewed promise and possibility. Morning arrives with the soft pink light of dawn, painting the eastern horizon in watercolors that fade so gradually into full daylight that the transition feels like watching a master painter work with brushes dipped in liquid sunrise. He wakes to the natural sounds that have been greeting island mornings for countless centuries. Waves continuing their eternal conversation with the shore, wind moving through palm fronds with whispers of distant weather, and the occasional calls of seabirds whose ancestors have been fishing these waters since long before human footprints first marked tropical beaches. Breakfast becomes a simple affair that connects him to the most fundamental rhythms of human survival and gratitude. Coconut milk flows sweet and nourishing from nuts that have been perfecting their contents through generations of island seasons, while fruit discovered in the island's generous interior provides flavors that speak of sunshine and rain and rich earth working in perfect cooperation. The process of gathering and preparing these simple meals becomes a meditation on abundance and appreciation, each bite carrying the story of roots that reach deep into island soil and leaves that have transformed sunlight into sustenance. The sun climbs slowly through a sky painted in endless shades of blue, from the pale azure near the horizon to the deep sapphire overhead, where clouds occasionally gather like white sheep grazing in aerial meadows. The light changes throughout the day in subtle ways that mark the passage of hours more reliably than any clock, casting shadows that shorten and lengthen in their ancient dance around the sundial of the natural world. In these quiet morning hours that stretch with the elastic quality of time unmarked by schedules or deadlines, he explores the island's beaches with the thorough attention of someone learning to read a new language written in sand and stone and driftwood. The shoreline becomes his daily newspaper, refreshed each night by tides that bring news from distant places in the form of objects carried by currents that connect his small world to the vast community of ocean-washed lands scattered across the Pacific's enormous embrace. Sometimes the sea brings useful items, pieces of metal worn smooth by salt water and time, rope that has been tested by storms and found strong enough to survive the ocean's challenges, or fabric that can be repurposed with patience and creativity into solutions for island living. Each discovery feels like a gift, carefully selected by the ocean's vast intelligence, arriving exactly when needed, and in forms that challenge him to think creatively about the relationship between need and possibility. Other times, the sea offers simple treasures that serve no practical purpose, but feed the soul in ways that remind him of beauty's essential role in human happiness. Shells arrive in extraordinary variety, some shaped like spirals that seem to contain the mathematics of creation itself, others painted in colors that rival tropical sunsets, and still others polished to such perfection that they feel like worry stones carved by the ocean's patient hands. Smooth stones arrive in sizes and shapes that invite handling, their surfaces worn to velvet smoothness by countless miles of tumbling in surf and sand. Pieces of driftwood tell stories of trees that once grew on distant shores, their wood weathered and shaped by ocean travel into forms that suggest sculptures created by collaboration between human imagination and natural forces. Some pieces arrive ready to serve as tools or building materials, while others seem designed purely for contemplation, their curves and textures inviting the kind of quiet appreciation that connects observers to the artistic impulses that flow through all of creation. The island's interior beckons with its own mysteries and comforts, accessible through paths that wind between trees whose roots have been finding purchase in coral-based soil for decades or centuries. Here, the air is cooler and filled with the green fragrance of leaves that have never known the touch of urban pollution, their photosynthesis creating an atmosphere that feels alive with oxygen and the quiet energy of growing things pursuing their ancient purpose. Deeper exploration reveals additional sources of fresh water, small pools formed by rain and fed by underground springs that emerge from the island's heart like gifts from the Earth's hidden reserves. The water in these pools is clear and cold, carrying the taste of minerals drawn from deep rock and the sweetness that comes from filtration through layers of sand and stone and living root systems. Each drink becomes a communion with the island's most essential blessing, connecting him to the water cycle that has been sustaining life in this place for longer than human presence has marked its shores. Among the items that wash ashore with the patient persistence of ocean-carried messages, he discovers several packages, remnants from his former life, that the ocean has preserved and delivered to his new world, with the care of a cosmic postal service that recognizes no barriers of distance or time. These packages, wrapped in materials that have survived their unexpected journey, become companions of a sort, each one a connection to the life he once knew and the responsibilities that once defined his daily purpose. The packages rest in his shelter like honored guests, their presence a reminder of the world beyond the island's shores and the people who are waiting for deliveries that have been interrupted by circumstances beyond anyone's control or prediction. He treats them with gentle reverence, keeping them safe and unopened, as if they contain not just objects, but memories and promises that deserve protection until they can fulfill their intended purpose. This daily care of the packages becomes a ritual that connects his island present to his professional past, a way of maintaining the sense of responsibility and purpose that has always been central to his character. Each morning, he checks to ensure they remain dry and secure, and each evening he arranges them carefully in their designated space, maintaining the integrity of their contents and the dignity of their intended recipients. One package, however, provides him with an unexpected gift that will transform his experience of island solitude in ways he could never have imagined. Inside, carefully wrapped and miraculously preserved by its packaging, he discovers a volleyball, simple, white, round, and somehow comforting in its familiar weight and texture. The ball fits perfectly in his hands, its surface marked with the geometric patterns that have made volleyballs recognizable across cultures and continents for generations. In the profound solitude of island life, where days can pass without the sound of human voices or the comfort of familiar conversation, this simple object begins to take on significance far beyond its intended purpose. Its presence provides a focal point for thoughts and observations that might otherwise remain unexpressed, a companion that listens without judgment and responds with the reliable consistency of inanimate friendship. As days flow into weeks, with the gentle persistence of tides that mark time in rhythms older than clocks, he begins to speak to the volleyball, sharing his thoughts and observations about each day's gentle discoveries and quiet challenges. The conversation starts tentatively, perhaps feeling somewhat artificial, but gradually develops into something that feels as natural as talking to an old friend who understands without need for explanation or elaboration. The volleyball, which he comes to call by an affectionate name painted in his own blood from a hand wound that heals slowly in the salt air, becomes his constant companion in ways that would seem impossible to explain to anyone who has never experienced the profound solitude that can transform the simplest objects into sources of comfort and connection. The painted face that emerges on the volleyball's white surface creates the suggestion of expressions and responses that make conversations feel less like monologues and more like genuine exchanges of thought and feeling. In the soft evening light, as the day's work is completed and the sun begins its colorful descent toward the horizon in displays that rival the world's greatest art galleries, he sits beside his friend and talks about the day's events with the easy familiarity of two beings who have shared countless sunsets and sunrise together. There's something deeply touching about this relationship. Two beings, one human and one object transformed by necessity into a companion, finding comfort in each other's presence in this vast, peaceful world that stretches beyond every horizon. The conversations cover every aspect of island life and memory of life beyond the island's shores. Plans for improving shelter are discussed with careful attention to detail, as if the volleyball's presence somehow makes the planning process more thorough and thoughtful. Observations about weather patterns and seasonal changes are shared like meteorological discussions between colleagues who have learned to read the sky's moods and the ocean's shifting temperament. Memories of life before the island are recounted with the kind of detailed reminiscence that helps preserve important experiences and relationships in the face of solitude that might otherwise allow precious details to fade. As the natural world continues its ancient rhythm while weeks turn to months and months begin to accumulate into years, he develops the skills necessary for island life with the patient persistence of someone who understands that survival depends not on dramatic gestures, but on the quiet accumulation of daily competencies and gradually deepening understanding of natural systems. Fire becomes his most valuable ally and trusted friend, providing warmth during the cool hours of tropical nights, cooking heat that transforms raw materials into nourishing meals, and comforting light during the velvet darkness when the island transforms into a world of shadows and whispered sounds. The process of making fire evolves from desperate necessity into meditative art, gathering dry materials with the careful attention of someone who understands that success depends on preparation and patience, arranging them with precise attention to airflow and fuel progression, and coaxing the first sparks into gentle flames that dance and flicker like living creatures born from human skill and natural materials. The fire pit becomes the heart of his daily routine, a gathering place where meals are prepared, wet clothes are dried, and evening hours are spent in the comfortable companionship of flickering light that pushes back the darkness and creates a circle of human presence in the vast natural world. The smoke from his fires carries the scents of burning wood and cooking food up into the island air, marking his presence with aromatic signals that speak of human habitation and the successful adaptation to natural rhythms. Maintaining the fire requires daily attention to fuel, gathering, and fire tending, creating a routine that connects him to the most fundamental human technologies. Walks through the island's interior become expeditions in search of dry wood, fallen branches that have been seasoned by sun and wind into perfect fuel for flames that will warm, cook, and comfort through another night of island living. The selection and preparation of kindling becomes an art form practiced with the careful attention of someone who understands that fire is too valuable to risk losing through carelessness or inattention. Shelter evolves from desperate necessity into something approaching comfort and even beauty, as understanding of materials and techniques develops through daily practice and gradual refinement, using materials provided by both ocean and island, bamboo that grows straight and strong in the island's interior, palm fronds that can be woven into waterproof thatch, rope and fabric gifted by ocean currents, and rocks that provide foundation and support. He creates a space that feels increasingly like home. The walls of his shelter rise gradually, each day's work adding another layer of protection from wind and rain, and the occasional tropical storm that tests all constructions with the concentrated power of nature unleashed. The roof develops from simple covering into sophisticated architecture that sheds rain efficiently while allowing air circulation that keeps the interior comfortable during the heat of tropical days. The floor evolves from bare sand into a carefully leveled and covered surface that provides comfort during the long hours of rest that restore energy for each new day's challenges and discoveries. Inside this evolving sanctuary, he creates spaces for different activities, a sleeping area arranged with soft materials that make rest peaceful and restorative, a storage area where tools and supplies can be organized and protected from weather, and a workspace where daily tasks can be accomplished with efficiency and satisfaction. The sound of rain on this roof becomes one of his favorite lullabies, a gentle percussion that speaks of the island's abundance and nature's reliable provision of the water that sustains all life. Food becomes an adventure of discovery and patience as the island teaches him which plants provide nourishment, which fruits ripen in which seasons, and how to catch fish in the shallow lagoons where they gather in silver schools that flash and shimmer in the tropical sunlight like living jewelry scattered across underwater meadows. Each meal feels earned and appreciated in a way that connects him to the ancient rhythms of human survival and the gratitude that comes from understanding the true source of sustenance. Coconuts provide both liquid and solid nourishment, their milk sweet and refreshing, and their meat rich with the oils and proteins that sustain energy for the physical work of island living. Learning to open coconuts becomes a daily skill practiced with increasing efficiency. as hands develop the strength and technique necessary to crack shells that have been designed by evolution to protect their precious contents from all threats except patient human persistence. Fish become a regular part of his diet as he learns the patience and technique necessary for successful fishing in tropical waters. The shallow lagoons reveal their secrets gradually, which areas fish prefer during different times of day, which simple materials can be fashioned into effective fishing tools, and how to move slowly and quietly enough to avoid frightening potential meals back into deeper water. The process of catching, cleaning, and cooking fish connects him to maritime traditions that stretch back to the earliest human settlements on island shores. Fruits discovered in the island's interior provide variety and sweetness that make simple meals into small celebrations of natural abundance. Each type of fruit ripens according to its own schedule, creating a natural calendar that marks the passage of seasons through the availability of different flavors and nutrients. Learning to recognize which fruits are ready for harvest and which need more time to develop their full potential becomes a daily study in the patience and observation that successful island living requires. In the comfortable silence of island evenings, when the work of the day is complete and the first stars begin to appear in the darkening sky like distant lighthouses marking celestial navigation routes, he often sits with his volleyball companion and watches the ocean continue its eternal performance of wave and tide, wind and current, storm and calm that has been playing to audiences of sand and stone for millions of years. The ocean becomes his evening entertainment, its moods and movements providing endless variation on themes of power and gentleness, constancy and change, solitude and connection to vast systems that stretch far beyond any single observer's ability to comprehend fully. The waves continue their eternal conversation with the shore, a sound so constant it becomes like breathing made audible, always present, always comforting, always reliable in its rhythm that marks the heartbeat of the natural world. The lagoon that curves around part of the island's shore provides a more intimate view of ocean life, its shallower waters revealing the underwater ballet of fish and coral, seaweed and sand that creates a living ecosystem visible from the surface during the clear, calm hours of late afternoon, when the sun's angle allows perfect visibility into depths that teem with life adapted to tropical rhythms. Watching this underwater world becomes a form of meditation, a reminder that his island existence is just one layer of a vast interconnected system of life forms pursuing their own ancient purposes according to patterns established long before human consciousness began to contemplate questions of meaning and connection. Time moves slowly here in ways that transform the very experience of temporal passage from the rushed anxiety of modern scheduling into something more akin to natural rhythms that ebb and flow like tides responding to lunar cycles and seasonal changes. We find that seasons pass in their own gentle way, marked not by calendar pages turning, but by subtle shifts in weather patterns, changes in the fruits available for harvest, and variations in the behavior of birds and fish that follow migration routes older than human navigation. His hair grows longer and becomes bleached by constant exposure to tropical sun and salt air, transforming from its original color into lighter shades that reflect months and years of outdoor living. His hands develop calluses and strength from the daily work of island survival becoming tools shaped by their tasks into instruments capable of delicate work and heavy lifting with equal competence. His body grows lean and strong from the physical demands of island life. Muscles developed through functional movement rather than artificial exercise, conditioned by real work that serves essential purposes. More profound than these physical changes are the mental and spiritual transformations that occur gradually, so slowly that they seem as natural as the changing of seasons or the daily progress of sun across sky. His mind finds peace in the simplicity of needs that can be clearly identified and effectively met through direct action and patient persistence. The complex anxieties of modern life, worries about things beyond his control, fears of events that might never happen, concerns about the opinions and expectations of others, fade gradually like morning mist dissipated by the warmth of rising sun. Sleep comes easily here, unmarked by the racing thoughts and artificial stimulation that once made rest elusive and incomplete. The physical tiredness that comes from meaningful work combines with the mental calm that grows from daily immersion in natural beauty to create the conditions for rest that refreshes and restores rather than simply interrupting consciousness. Dreams, when they come, are often filled with the sounds and images of island life, waves washing gently against sand, wind moving through palm fronds, and the comfortable presence of his volleyball companion, sharing another peaceful day in paradise. The profound solitude that initially seemed threatening gradually reveals itself as a gift that allows thoughts and feelings to develop without the constant interruption and influence of external voices and expectations. In the absence of television, radio, internet, and human conversation, his mind learns to generate its own entertainment and wisdom, drawing on memories, observations, and the natural creativity that emerges when consciousness is freed from information overload and allowed to follow its own inclinations. Conversations with his volleyball friend become increasingly sophisticated and meaningful as the artificial sense of talking to an inanimate object fades and is replaced by genuine companionship that transcends the conventional boundaries between animate and inanimate, human and object, conscious and unconscious. The volleyball becomes a repository for thoughts and feelings that need expression, a witness to experiences that deserve acknowledgement, and a companion for activities that are enhanced by the sense of shared presence. During one particularly beautiful sunset, painted in shades of orange and purple and gold that reflect perfectly on the calm surface of the lagoon, like nature's own stained glass window, created fresh each evening and never repeated exactly, he notices something unusual floating in the distance. A piece of metal, large and flat enough to serve as a sail or roof or raft foundation, drifts toward the island on the evening tide, like a message from the outside world delivered at exactly the right moment. This gift from the ocean, arriving after years of island living, have developed his skills and confidence to the point where he might be ready for a new kind of challenge, sparks an idea that grows slowly over the following days and weeks, like a seed that has found perfect soil and sufficient water and sunshine to develop into something substantial and life-changing. The possibility of venturing beyond the reef that surrounds his island home begins to take shape in his mind, not as desperate escape, but as exploration undertaken with the skills and wisdom gained through years of successful island living. The metal sheet, when retrieved and examined, proves to be exactly the right size and shape to serve as a sail for a raft large enough to carry both him and his volleyball companion beyond the protected waters of the lagoon and into the open ocean where currents and winds might carry them toward rescue or simply toward new experiences and challenges that would test the skills and wisdom accumulated through years of island living. The construction of a raft becomes his new project, carried out with the same patient attention to detail and gradual development of technique that he has learned to apply to all island tasks. This is not a project driven by desperate urgency, but by careful planning and methodical preparation that honors both the dangers of ocean travel and the skills that years of island living have developed and refined. Days are spent gathering materials with the same careful attention he has learned to give to all aspects of island survival. Bamboo poles that have grown straight and strong in the island's interior, their hollow centers providing buoyancy, while their natural flexibility allows them to bend with waves rather than breaking under stress. Rope collected over years from various ocean gifts and carefully preserved against the salt air that can weaken natural fibers, is assessed and sorted according to strength and length and intended use. Each piece of rope tells the story of its journey to the island, some thick and strong enough to have served aboard large vessels, others fine enough for delicate work, but long enough to serve essential purposes in raft construction. The rope must be arranged and knotted with attention to both strength and the possibility of adjustment once the raft is actually floating and subject to the forces of wave and wind and current. Fabric that has been collected from various sources over the years is evaluated for its potential use as sail material, its weight and weave and resistance to wind and water, assessed with the careful attention of someone who understands that a sail must be strong enough to capture wind power, but light enough not to overwhelm the vessel it drives. The metal sheet, now thoroughly cleaned and examined for weaknesses or dangerous edges, will serve as the primary sail, but additional fabric can provide backup or supplementary sail area if wind conditions require different approaches to harnessing the power of air movement. The design of the raft evolves through careful consideration of all factors: the weight of passengers and supplies, the buoyancy of bamboo poles, the size of sail that can be safely managed by one person, and the storage space necessary for fresh water and food supplies that will sustain life during however many days the ocean journey might require. Each element of the design must be tested and refined through actual construction, as the difference between theoretical planning and practical implementation reveals itself through the patient work of assembly. His volleyball friend watches from its place of honor as this new creation takes shape day by day, each day's work adding another element to what gradually becomes recognizable as a seaworthy vessel, capable of carrying them both beyond the familiar boundaries of island life and into the vast unknown where rescue might await, or new challenges might test every skill and wisdom gained through years of island living. The lashing that holds the bamboo poles together must be strong enough to withstand the stress of waves that could easily tear apart inadequate construction, but it must also be arranged in ways that allow the raft to flex and bend with ocean forces rather than fighting them with rigid resistance that would quickly result in structural failure. This balance between strength and flexibility requires careful attention to traditional boat-building techniques adapted to available materials and the specific conditions of tropical ocean travel. A shelter area is constructed on the raft to provide protection from sun and rain during what could be days of ocean travel. This shelter must be secure enough to remain attached during rough weather, but light enough not to affect the raft's stability or performance in wind and waves. The balance between protection and seaworthiness requires careful consideration of every element, from the materials used in construction to the methods of attachment that must hold against forces that could be far stronger than anything experienced during the protected environment of island living. Storage areas for fresh water and food must be designed to keep these essential supplies dry and secure during ocean travel that could subject them to salt spray and rough handling as the raft responds to wave action and wind pressure. The containers must be lashed to the raft in ways that prevent loss during rough weather while remaining accessible for daily use during what could be an extended journey toward rescue or new challenges. As the construction progresses over days and weeks of careful work, the raft begins to look less like a collection of island materials and more like a genuine vessel capable of carrying life safely across ocean distances that have challenged human courage and ingenuity for thousands of years. Each completed element adds to the overall sense of readiness and possibility, creating confidence that this venture has been planned and executed with sufficient care to have a reasonable chance of success. The final days of preparation involve careful consideration of departure timing, as weather patterns and ocean conditions must be favorable for a journey that will have no possibility of return once the reef is crossed and the island left behind. Wind direction and strength must be suitable for sailing rather than simply drifting, while wave conditions must be manageable for a raft that, despite careful construction, will never have the stability and safety of vessels designed and built with industrial tools and materials. Weather observation becomes a daily ritual during these final weeks, as he learns to read the sky's moods with the attention of someone whose life will depend on understanding the subtle signs that predict favorable conditions for ocean travel. Cloud formations that once seemed merely beautiful now carry information about wind patterns and approaching weather systems. The color of the sky at sunrise and sunset provides clues about atmospheric pressure and the likelihood of calm seas or challenging conditions. The ocean itself offers its own weather reports through the behavior of waves that reach his island after traveling across thousands of miles of open water. The size and spacing of swells, the direction from which they arrive, and the sound they make as they break against the reef all provide information about distant weather systems and the conditions he might encounter once he ventures beyond the protection of his island's sheltering embrace. Bird behavior becomes another source of weather information, as seabirds that have been his companions for years demonstrate their own responses to changing atmospheric conditions. Their flight patterns, the height at which they soar, and their calls all carry information about wind conditions and approaching changes in weather that could affect ocean travel. These living barometers have been reading ocean weather for generations, and learning to interpret their signals becomes another skill essential for safe departure timing. Like a gentle breath, the narrative flows to the morning when conditions finally align in perfect harmony for departure. The ocean stretches before him, painted in shades of blue that shift and change with depth and distance, from the pale turquoise of the shallow lagoon to the deep sapphire of open water that extends beyond every horizon. The wind is steady but not strong, promising to fill his improvised sail with reliable power while avoiding the dangerous strength that could overwhelm his carefully constructed vessel. The sky overhead displays the kind of clear, stable weather that experienced sailors recognize as ideal for beginning long journeys. High clouds that speak of stable atmospheric conditions, gentle winds that promise consistent progress without dangerous gusts, and visibility that stretches to distant horizons where rescue ships might be spotted hours before they arrive close enough for contact and assistance. The departure preparations unfold with ceremonial care, as each item is checked and secured one final time before commitment to a journey that will allow no opportunity for returning to retrieve forgotten essentials or correct inadequate preparation. Freshwater containers are topped off from the island's reliable springs and secured in their designated storage areas with lashings that have been tested and retested to ensure they will hold against the stress of ocean travel. Food supplies, carefully selected for their ability to provide nutrition without requiring cooking or elaborate preparation, are packed in containers that will protect them from salt water while remaining accessible for daily consumption during what could be many days of ocean travel. Coconuts provide both food and emergency fresh water, while dried fish and preserved fruits offer variety and essential nutrients that will sustain energy and health during the physical demands of managing a raft in open ocean conditions. Tools and equipment that have served him well during the years of island living are carefully selected and secured aboard the raft. Fishing equipment that could supplement food supplies during an extended journey. Fire-making materials protected from salt water in waterproof containers. And navigation aids improvised from island materials that might help maintain course toward areas where rescue is most likely to occur. His volleyball companion, that faithful friend who has shared countless sunrises and sunsets during years of island solitude, is given a place of honor aboard the raft, where it will be secure against loss while remaining visible and accessible for the continued companionship that has sustained his spirit through the challenges and discoveries of island life. The painted face that has become so familiar over years of shared experience seems to reflect excitement about this new adventure that will test every skill and wisdom gained through patient years of learning to live in harmony with natural forces. The final moments on the island carry the bittersweet quality of all significant departures, as familiar sights and sounds take on heightened meaning when viewed for what might be the last time. The palm trees that have provided shade and shelter wave in the morning breeze like old friends offering benedictions for safe travel, while the lagoon sparkles in the early light as if providing one final gift of beauty to carry forward into uncertain but hopeful future adventures. There's something deeply moving about this moment of transition between the known security of island life and the unknown possibilities of ocean travel toward potential rescue and return to the world of human community and technological complexity. The island has been more than mere shelter. It has been teacher, provider, and companion in the journey of learning to find contentment and meaning in the simplest elements of existence. As he pushes the raft into deeper water and feels the ocean current take hold with the gentle but insistent power that speaks of forces far greater than human strength or intention, the island begins to recede behind him like a dream fading with the approach of dawn. The raft responds to wind and current with surprising grace, its careful construction proving worthy of the trust placed in materials gathered from island and ocean and assembled with patient attention to both strength and seaworthiness. The sailing, once begun, unfolds with the kind of natural rhythm that speaks of harmony between vessel and elements, human intention, and natural forces working in cooperation rather than opposition. The improvised sail catches wind with satisfying efficiency, pulling the raft forward across water that sparkles with reflected sunlight and stretches toward horizons that promise either rescue or new challenges that will test every lesson learned during years of island education. Hours pass peacefully as the raft moves across ocean waters that roll in gentle swells beneath a sky painted in the endless blue that speaks of good weather and favorable conditions for travel. The volleyball companion sits securely in its designated place, sharing the adventure with the same patient presence that has characterized years of island companionship, while the raft continues its steady progress toward destinations unknown but approached with confidence, born of careful preparation and accumulated wisdom. The rhythm of ocean travel gradually establishes itself as natural and almost meditative, the gentle rocking motion of the raft responding to swells, the steady pull of wind in the sail providing consistent forward motion, and the endless vista of water and sky creating an environment that seems designed for contemplation and peaceful progress toward whatever opportunities or challenges await beyond the horizon's mysterious curve. Time takes on the elastic quality of ocean travel, where progress is measured not by clocks, but by the sun's steady arc across the sky and the gradual changes in watercolor and wave patterns that speak of movement across different regions of the vast Pacific. The sun travels its familiar path overhead, providing warmth and navigation reference, while the raft continues its journey across waters that have carried countless vessels and their passengers toward destinations both planned and unexpected. In this moment of perfect suspension between island past and uncertain future, there's a profound sense of peace that comes from having committed fully to a course of action taken after careful consideration and thorough preparation. The ocean holds both raft and passengers gently in its vast embrace, supporting their journey with the same patient power that has carried ships and survivors across these waters for centuries of human exploration and adventure. The sailing continues through afternoon hours that blend into early evening as the sun begins its gradual descent toward the western horizon, where it will create another spectacular tropical sunset to mark the end of the first day of ocean travel. The raft maintains its steady progress, wind and current working in harmony to carry it steadily away from the island's familiar shores and toward the vast unknown where rescue ships patrol shipping lanes and search for signs of survivors from aircraft accidents and maritime disasters. Then, like a dream gradually becoming reality, something appears on the horizon that catches his attention and fills him with a mixture of excitement and disbelief that such fortune could be possible after so many years of island solitude. A shape that could be a ship moves with purpose across the blue expanse, its course bringing it gradually closer to the raft's position in what seems like a convergence too fortunate to be mere coincidence. The vessel, as it grows slowly larger with the patient inevitability of ocean distances being conquered by reliable mechanical power, reveals itself to be exactly what years of hoping and planning have envisioned. A cargo ship moving steadily across established shipping lanes, with the kind of purposeful navigation that speaks of scheduled routes and professional crews trained to watch for exactly the kind of emergency signals that survivors learn to create and display. The process of attracting attention unfolds with dramatic efficiency as signals improvised from raft materials and years of accumulated knowledge about maritime rescue procedures succeed in catching the notice of watchful crew members whose training and experience have prepared them to recognize signs of distress and respond with immediate action. The ship's change of course toward the raft's position confirms that rescue is no longer hope, but approaching reality. The rescue, when it finally occurs after years of patient island living and careful preparation for this moment, unfolds with gentle efficiency and human kindness that speaks of maritime traditions older than any single voyage or crew. Hands reach down from the ship's deck to lift both man and volleyball companion up from ocean level to the security of a vessel equipped with all the technology and supplies that modern civilization has developed for safe ocean travel. Voices speaking in tones of concern and professional care welcome the rescued survivors with words that carry warmth and competence, while crew members trained in emergency response assess condition and needs with efficient kindness. The ship itself represents a return to the world of schedules and destinations, mechanical reliability, and human cooperation in ventures that span ocean distances with technological confidence, rather than the patient improvisation that has characterized years of island survival. The transition from raft to rescue ship marks a profound shift from self-reliance to interdependence, from solitude to community, from improvised survival to technological support. The volleyball companion, still carrying the painted face that has provided companionship through years of shared experience, is treated with the same respect and care accorded to any passenger. Its importance as emotional support and spiritual anchor recognized by crew members who understand the psychology of survival and the bonds that can develop between isolated individuals and the objects that become invested with companionship and meaning. The ship's medical facilities provide professional assessment and care for the physical effects of years of island living, while comfortable quarters offer the kind of security and comfort that modern vessels provide as standard equipment for passengers and crew. Clean clothes, prepared meals, and fresh water available at the turn of a handle represent luxuries that have been absent for years, but now return with the overwhelming abundance that characterizes technological civilization. Communication with the outside world becomes possible for the first time in years as the ship's radio and satellite systems reconnect him to networks of information and relationship that stretch around the globe with electronic efficiency. Phone calls that seemed impossible just hours earlier now become routine. Voices of loved ones reaching across ocean distances with clarity that makes separation seem like a temporary inconvenience rather than the profound isolation that has defined years of island existence. The journey aboard the rescue ship unfolds over days that provide gradual readjustment to life lived according to schedules and shared spaces, mechanical systems, and technological conveniences that have been absent from daily experience for so long. They feel both familiar and strange. Meals prepared by ship's cooks arrive at regular intervals without effort or planning on his part, while climate-controlled cabins maintain comfortable temperatures regardless of external weather conditions. Conversations with crew members and other passengers reintroduce him to the rhythms of human social interaction, the give and take of shared stories and mutual interest that has been absent during years when his only conversational partner was the volleyball companion whose patient presence provided emotional support but could not engage in the complex exchanges that characterize human community and connection. The ship's steady progress toward port represents movement toward reunion with the world of cities and technology, relationships and responsibilities that have continued their own evolution during the years of his absence. News of changes in the world reaches him gradually through conversations and electronic communication, preparing him for the return to a society that has moved forward through its own cycles of change and development. The arrival at port unfolds with the ceremonial quality of all significant transitions, as the ship's horn announces their approach to harbor, while the familiar shapes of civilization, buildings and vehicles, crowds of people and electronic displays, grow larger and more detailed as the vessel approaches its berth. The solid feeling of dock beneath feet that have become accustomed to the gentle movement of floating platforms marks another profound transition in a journey that has encompassed every type of travel, from desperate ocean survival to technological rescue and return. The transition back to the world of schedules and deadlines happens gradually, like adjusting to light after years in a darker environment where different rhythms have governed daily life and long-term planning. Hospital rooms filled with soft voices and clean sheets provide medical assessment and treatment for the physical effects of years of outdoor living, while conversations with doctors and nurses reintroduce him to the professional care and technological monitoring that modern medicine provides as standard treatment. Phone calls that reconnect him to the life he left behind years ago carry voices filled with joy and disbelief, and overwhelming relief that survival was possible and rescue was achieved after so many years of uncertainty about his fate. Family members and friends who have continued their own lives while hoping for news share their experiences of the intervening years while learning about the island adventures and survival discoveries that have filled the time of separation. The legal and practical details of return to modern life require attention to documentation and identification, insurance claims and employment status, financial accounts, and residential arrangements that have been suspended or altered during years of absence. These practical matters, handled with the assistance of professionals trained to help survivors readjust to civilian life, represent the complex infrastructure that supports modern existence, but has been completely absent from island living. As our gentle story draws toward its close, we see him returning to a world both familiar and transformed by his extended absence and the changes that have occurred in both society and his own perspective during years of island education. The house he once knew feels different now, larger and more complicated than the simple shelter he created on the island, filled with technological conveniences and consumer goods that serve purposes he has learned to accomplish through direct interaction with natural materials and processes. The abundance of choices in everyday life can feel overwhelming after years of beautiful simplicity where needs were clear and solutions were achieved through patient work with available resources. Grocery stores filled with thousands of products represent both blessing and complexity, offering convenience and variety while requiring decisions that have been absent from a lifestyle where food came directly from natural sources and preparation methods were limited to fire and simple tools. His relationships, too, have evolved during his absence in ways both expected and surprising. People he loved have continued their own journeys, creating new connections and making new choices during the years he was assumed lost, while their own understanding of life and priorities has been influenced by experiences and challenges that occurred during his absence. There's no anger or blame in these discoveries, only the quiet acceptance that life, like ocean currents, continues to flow and change in ways both predictable and surprising. The conversations that rebuild and redefine relationships unfold over weeks and months, with the patient attention that important connections deserve. Stories of island life and survival discoveries are shared with people who have their own stories of change and growth during the years of separation, creating new understanding and appreciation for the different paths that led to this reunion. The volleyball companion often serves as a bridge between worlds, its presence helping to explain the psychological adaptations that made survival possible, while honoring the emotional connections that sustained hope through years of solitude. Professional responsibilities require similar attention to both continuity and change, as the work world has evolved its own new procedures and technologies during years of his absence. The company that employed him has developed new systems and faced new challenges, while colleagues have advanced in their careers and taken on different roles in response to changing conditions and opportunities. His return requires integration into systems that have adapted to his absence, while making use of the perspectives and wisdom gained through unique experiences that no training program could provide. In quiet moments that occur with increasing frequency as readjustment progresses, he finds himself thinking of the island with the kind of affectionate memory that characterizes all profound educational experiences. Morning light on calm lagoon water, evening fires that provided warmth and comfort, and the patient presence of his volleyball companion during years when emotional support came from the most unexpected sources. These memories don't create sadness, but rather fill him with deep gratitude for the unexpected journey that taught lessons about resilience, contentment, and the essential elements of human happiness. The packages he preserved so carefully throughout his island years are finally delivered to their intended recipients in ceremonies that become small celebrations of dedication and professional commitment that transcended circumstances no one could have predicted or planned for. Each delivery represents completion of responsibilities, that were interrupted by forces beyond anyone's control, while the stories accompanying each package provide recipients with understanding of the journey. These simple objects completed across years and ocean distances. The recipients themselves are moved by the dedication that preserved their packages through years of uncertainty and challenging conditions. Business documents that arrived years later than intended carry stories that transform routine deliveries into testimonies of human commitment and professional integrity that honored obligations, despite circumstances that would have excused any failure to complete assigned tasks. Personal items that finally reach their destinations become invested with meaning far beyond their original significance, carrying with them stories of survival and dedication that inspire everyone who learns of the extraordinary journey that brought them safely home. In the peaceful quiet that follows his return and the gradual establishment of new routines that honor both his past life and the wisdom gained through island experiences, he discovers that the island changed him in ways both subtle and profound that continue to influence daily choices and long-term perspectives. Food tastes different now, more precious, more appreciated for the natural processes and human labor that brought it to his table, while simple meals become opportunities for gratitude rather than routine consumption of conveniently available nutrition. Sleep comes easier now, unmarked by the complicated worries and artificial anxieties that once filled nights with restless concerns about problems beyond his control or fears of events that might never occur. The physical tiredness that comes from meaningful work combines with mental peace, learned through years of direct dependence on natural systems to create rest that refreshes and restores, rather than simply interrupting consciousness until dawn demands another day of rushed activity and stressed productivity. Sunsets hold a beauty that stops him in his tracks with the kind of immediate appreciation that years of island evenings developed and refined into a natural response to daily displays of atmospheric art. The colors and cloud formations that mark evening transitions from day to night carry emotional significance that connects him to memories of countless tropical evenings when sunset watching became meditation and gratitude practice, combined into a single daily ritual of appreciation and reflection. Weather becomes a source of interest and pleasure rather than inconvenience and complaint, as years of direct dependence on natural conditions developed appreciation for rain that nourishes growing things, wind that carries freshness and change, and sunshine that provides warmth and energy for all living systems. Storms are observed with the kind of respectful attention that recognizes their power while appreciating their role in natural cycles that sustain life and create the diversity of conditions that make Earth a suitable home for countless species and ecosystems. Gradually, peacefully, the story unfolds as he learns to integrate the lessons of island life with the complexity of modern existence in ways that honor both worlds without rejecting either completely. The patience learned from waiting for coconuts to ripen and fish to bite serves him well in business meetings where quick decisions might be less effective than careful consideration of all factors and long-term consequences. The gratitude born from daily gifts of food and fresh water and shelter transforms ordinary experiences into opportunities for appreciation and contentment. The profound companionship he found with his volleyball friend, teaches him new ways of appreciating human connection, while also finding peace in solitude when circumstances require time alone for thought and reflection. Conversations with family and friends carry new depth and attention, while quiet hours spent in his own company feel comfortable and productive rather than lonely or anxious. The balance between social connection and private reflection reflects lessons learned during years when both were essential for psychological health and spiritual growth. Professional relationships benefit from perspectives gained through years of problem solving with limited resources and direct dependence on effective solutions that work under challenging conditions. Complex business problems are approached with the kind of patient analysis and creative thinking that island survival required, while cooperation with colleagues reflects appreciation for human teamwork learned through imagined conversations with a volleyball companion who provided emotional support during years when mutual dependence was essential for maintaining hope and sanity. Community involvement takes on new meaning as appreciation for human cooperation and mutual support grows from experiences that demonstrated the value of every form of assistance and companionship, whether from other people or from objects and natural systems that provided essential services during challenging circumstances. Volunteer work and charitable contributions reflect gratitude for rescue and return, while political and social engagement demonstrates understanding of the cooperation required to maintain the technological and social systems that make rescue possible and survival support available to those who need assistance. In the comfortable silence of evening hours that have become periods of reflection and gratitude, rather than entertainment consumption or anxious worrying about tomorrow's challenges, he sometimes sits quietly and lets his mind drift back to mornings on the island when the world felt simple and each day's needs could be clearly identified and effectively addressed through direct action and patient persistence. These memories don't create sadness or regret, but rather fill him with deep appreciation for the unexpected education that taught him what truly matters in life. The volleyball companion, now occupying a place of honor in his home, serves as daily reminder of the companionship that can be found in the most unexpected relationships when circumstances require creative solutions to fundamental human needs for connection and emotional support. Visitors often ask about its significance, providing opportunities to share stories that illustrate the adaptability of human consciousness and the importance of hope and friendship in sustaining motivation through challenging periods that test every resource and skill. The island itself continues to exist in his memory as more than geographical location. It has become symbol and teacher, representing the possibility of finding contentment and meaning in the simplest circumstances while discovering strengths and capabilities that remain hidden until circumstances require their development and use. Plans sometimes form for returning to visit the island, not as escape from current life, but as pilgrimage to a place that provided education impossible to acquire through any other means. The day continues its unhurried pace as he finds new rhythms that honor both worlds, the complex, connected life of modern existence with its technological conveniences and social networks, and the simple, mindful appreciation learned from years of island solitude, where every meal was earned and every sunset was celebrated and every friendship was treasured because alternatives were scarce and precious. Work continues with renewed purpose and perspective. Relationships evolve with deeper appreciation for human connection and support, and time flows forward as it always has, but now with undercurrents of gratitude and contentment that transform ordinary experiences into opportunities for appreciation and joy. Most importantly, he carries within him always the profound truth learned through years of solitude and survival, that we are never truly alone as long as we remain open to connection and companionship, whether with other people who share our journey, with the natural world that sustains all life, or even with simple objects that become friends when approached with open hearts and genuine need for relationship and support. This understanding transforms both solitude and community into opportunities for growth and connection, making every day an adventure in discovering the bonds that connect all living things in webs of mutual dependence and shared existence. The story settles into its final quiet moments, like evening light slowly fading into night, carrying with it the gentle warmth that lingers after sunset and the peaceful anticipation that comes with knowing tomorrow will bring its own opportunities for appreciation and connection. There's a sense of completion here that encompasses not just the tale of survival and rescue, but the larger story of human resilience and the capacity to find meaning and joy even in circumstances that initially seem hopeless or overwhelming. Time moves in its own gentle rhythm now, marked not by the artificial urgency of schedules and deadlines, but by deeper appreciation for each moment's simple gifts and natural beauty. Morning light, streaming through windows, becomes daily reminder of countless island sunrises that marked successful survival of another night and promised another day of opportunities for learning and growth. The taste of coffee shared with someone loved carries echoes of coconut milk, sipped in grateful solitude while watching tropical dawn paint the sky in colors that cameras could never capture completely. The sound of rain on a roof that provides reliable shelter and comfort connects him to memories of tropical storms weathered in improvised buildings that held against wind and water through careful construction and regular maintenance. Each drop carries memories of collected rainwater that sustained life and stories of natural abundance that provided everything necessary for survival and even comfort when approached with patience and gratitude and creative problem-solving skills developed through necessity and refined through daily practice. In these final, dreamlike moments that carry the soft quality of consciousness preparing for rest and renewal, we're left with the image of someone who has traveled farther than any distance measured in miles or years could possibly indicate, from complexity to simplicity and back again, carrying the best wisdom of both worlds in a heart that learned to find companionship in solitude, peace in acceptance of life's unexpected currents, and joy in the simple fact of existence shared with others, whether human or otherwise, who make everyday survival possible and meaningful. The evening deepens around this gentle conclusion, like water embracing a stone, while peace settles over the story and its lessons, with the natural ease of tide returning to familiar shores. All the questions have been answered, all the journeys completed, all the lessons learned and integrated into a life that honors both adventure and homecoming, both solitude and community. both survival and rescue, both independence and interdependence, in the great web of connection that sustains all life on this small planet, floating in an ocean of space filled with possibilities we are only beginning to imagine and explore. Sweet dreams, and may your own journey find you always surrounded by the quiet companionship of love and friendship, whether in the company of many or in the profound peace of your own gentle solitude, knowing that somewhere across time and space, stories like this one continue to unfold in hearts that remain open to connection, growth, and the endless possibilities that emerge when human resilience meets natural abundance in the eternal dance of survival, adaptation, and hope that makes every day a gift worth celebrating, and every night a peaceful rest earned through living fully and gratefully in whatever circumstances life provides.